We have some crazy builds to share with you guys today as the Koreans have been pulling out AP Tahm Kench and even Tank Zeri. These setups and much more as we break down the best new Korean builds for patch 12.23b. And if you didn't know, the preseason is arguably the best time to get way better at League of Legends. The reason is because when you focus on improving your own skills instead of just doing whatever it takes to scrape a win, you do tend to lose a little more in the short term in exchange for huge gains in the long term. So if you're thinking of mastering your macro skills and not joining every team fight, but instead trying to learn how to become a split-pushing god, or if you're looking to learn a new role or bootcamp your mechanics, then enroll to our world-class courses as we teach every fundamental you could ever need with the world's largest premium library for League of Legends. And better yet, if you join SkillCapped for the long haul, then for just $6.99 a month, you can get a 1-year membership to SkillCapped. And if you don't climb at least 5 divisions while actively using SkillCapped, you can claim a full refund, so there's no risk. This subscription also grants you access to WoW Dragonflight, Valorant, and Wrath of the Lich King. So check us out right after this, link in the description below. And with that said, let's move on to today's guide. So let's start things off by jumping right into the AP Tahm Kench build. If you guys remember back to patch 12.23, Tahm had the AP ratios buffed on his passive, Q, W, and ultimate, which is the driving factor to the rise of this build. WAP ratio is now 150%, which is pretty insane. QAP ratio is 100% as well, so to what may come as a surprise, Tahm does scale insanely well with AP. For that reason, you can look to rush a Night Harvester into Shadow Flame 2nd and Rabadon's 3rd. This is all-out one-shot Tahm Kench, as Night Harvester and Shadow Flame provide you with a combined 190 ability power. The key to succeeding with this build is being able to land W. So much burst potential with that 150% AP ratio on the spell, so it's vital you look to slow the enemy with Q before going in with W. With Night Harvester completed and ultimate available, your all-in power is completely insane as R does a ton of damage with this AP setup. You want to keep it nice and simple for the rune page, running Grasp to help with early laning. You can experiment with Comet as well, but most AP Tahm players are siding with Grasp. There are so many viable Gangplank builds going around right now, and a new one catching steam consists of an Iceborne Gauntlet Rush. World Champion Kingen has been playing this one in solo queue and seeing great success. This is more of a bruiser Gangplank build, as Ravenous Hydra is the second item, while Sterix is what Kingen purchased third. This is not a build that you want to be running in all your games, but one that can work extremely well in the correct spots. If the enemy comp locks 3 or more AD champions, then the value from Gauntlet becomes super high. Kingen ran the build into an enemy comp consisting of Rengar, Bel'Veth, and Kai'Sa, so 3 champs with a good amount of physical damage. For the rune page, you want to grab First Strike with Magical Footwear, Biscuits, and Cosmic Insight. Optimal secondaries are Bone Plating and Overgrowth. One of the more sleeper OP builds going around right now that Koreans are catching onto is Radiant Virtue Vi. In theory, Radiant Virtue should work extremely well on a champ like Vi, who is so ultimate reliant. That theory is being proven true as the stats really back up Radiant being a phenomenal second purchase on Vi. What the Koreans are doing is rushing Chempunk Chainsword, going into Radiant second, and then Black Cleaver or Sterix third. Since playing off R cooldown is so vital to make this build work, rushing Chempunk gives you 25 ability haste, which synergizes very well. If you go Black Cleaver third, that's another 30 ability haste, and combined with Radiant Virtue, it's 75 haste in total or 43% cooldown reduction. The whole idea behind this build is to be ulting in and providing your team with a ton of bonus stats as they follow your engage. For the rune page, grab Conqueror with Triumph, Alacrity, and Coup de Grace. Freeboots and Cosmic Insight are the best secondaries. One of the most broken builds in the game right now, not getting nearly enough attention, is Demonic Embrace Rush Udyr. Now that the lethality Udyr has been nerfed, you need to try this hybrid tank build again. Demonic Rush is so strong for Udyr as the percent health burn damage from the item synergizes so well with Udyr's consistent DPS potential. After rushing Demonic, you'll transition into tank with Jaksho 2nd and Sunfire Aegis 3rd. With Demonic and Jaksho, Udyr becomes this unkillable raid boss that can still pump out a considerable amount of damage. Although Hail Blades is the most popular keystone when playing lethality, you want to be running Conqueror with this tankier setup. Lee Sin mid is back and being spammed in solo queue by many top-tier pro players. Zeka, Showmaker, and Chovy have all been playing Lee mid the past few days and are all abusing the exact same build. In Zeka's game, he absolutely demolished a Zed, going 10-1, winning in 15 minutes. The core build consists of a Ravenous Hydra Rush into Jaksho as the mythic item. Lee mid used to work really well because an E max was very strong and enabled insanely good pushing power. Riot eventually nerfed Lee's E though, which significantly hindered his ability to clear waves quickly. The reason for Lee mid's resurgence is due to how strong Ravenous Hydra is, as you have the ability to perma-push waves with E and the cleave passive. Take note that you want to be maxing Q out first and not E. Since you're rushing Ravenous, you don't need the added wave clear from putting more points into E, and can instead max Q for better skirmishing power. Q cooldown drops from 10 to 6 seconds once maxed, while E sits at 9 seconds for all ranks, so you get a lot more value out of the Q max. For the rune page, grab Conqueror with Triumph, Tenacity, and Last Stand. Secondaries are Second Wind and Revitalize. Although K'Sante is most commonly seen in the top lane, a bunch of Korean pros including Faker, Rookie, and Showmaker have been pulling him out in mid. The game Faker played K'Sante, he ran it into Yone, which is a super good lane for K'Sante. K'Sante is doing really well into these melee mids like Yasuo, Yone, Akali, Sylas, and Kassadin. An interesting summoner spell combination that Rookie has been spamming on his K'Sante consists of Flash with Ghost. A ton of mobility from these two sums, which allows for K'Sante to impact the map really well once he gets mid priority. As for the build, it's either a Jock Show or Iceborne Gauntlet Rush, depending on the matchup. Into heavy AD, prioritize Iceborne. Otherwise, Jock Show works best into heavier AP comps. Second item is Sunfire Aegis, and you round out the core with a Gargoyle Stone Plate. Grasp is the most optimal keystone with Shield Bash, Conditioning, and Overgrowth. Run Triumph and Tenacity for secondaries. The new Zeri build should not be legal, as it revolves around Jock Show as her mythic item. Korean ADC Viper has been playing this one in solo queue. The entire build is actually super unique. Most Zeri players are building Shield Bow into Phantom Dancer, but the first two items in this build path are Ravenous Hydra and Hurricane. You don't end up building Jock Show until third, as you still need a few damage items before you can start going defensive. With Hydra and Hurricane, you have really insane shoving power, along with some nice AoE splash for team fights. By building Jock Show, you are allowed to play much more aggressively in fights, and will have an easier time hitting bunched up targets, which gives Ravenous and Hurricane good value. Zeri being a champion that thrives in those extended fights means the ramping power from Jock Show does not go to waste in the slightest. You're not really even an ADC with this build, as you're more of a ranged bruiser with strong kiting power and mobility. For the rune page is Lethal Tempo with Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand, roll with Conditioning and Overgrowth for secondaries. With the buffs to Storm Razor in 12.23b, its base stats are now over 100% gold efficient, and it's performing really well on Caitlyn as a third item. One of the big upsides to building Storm Razor is how much cheaper it is than Infinity Edge. 700 gold less means you're hitting a 3-item core way sooner into the game. Of course, the synergy that Storm Razor has with Rapid Fire Cannon is great too. With Caitlyn's long base attack range, she can take really good advantage of the poke power that Fire Cannon and Storm Razor possess. The ability to dash in and finish off low health targets is amazing as well, due to Gale Force active along with Fire Cannon and Storm Razor passives. Especially in games where there is a big objective coming up and you need to be as powerful as possible, instead of sitting on a bunch of gold waiting for Infinity Edge, if you can complete Storm Razor, it can be the deciding factor for that fight. In games where you really just want to accelerate your lead as quick as possible, Storm Razor works great. Fleet and Lethal Tempo are viable keystones for Caitlyn, it just comes down to preference. You've got more DPS potential with Lethal, but more safety and kiting power with Fleet. One of the best supports in the world, T1 Keria, has been pulling out a brand new build for his Senna. It's quite literally a tanky bruiser setup consisting of a Heartsteel Rush into Titanic Hydra 2nd and Black Cleaver 3rd. Believe it or not, this build is actually performing very well stat-wise too, with Heartsteel winning more than the standard Umbral Glaive Rush. Basically what it comes down to is, why build squishy, deal a little bit more damage, but be extremely vulnerable when you can build tank, deal a bit less damage, but substantially increase your ability to stay alive longer? Senna already does plenty of damage thanks to her souls, so she can get away with going these tankier builds better than most carry champions. Since Titanic Hydra converts bonus health into extra AD, rushing Heartsteel not only makes you super tanky, but all that health turns into damage as well. The rune page is pretty spicy, with Keria running Guardian instead of Fleet or Grasp. If you're unaware, the shield from Guardian scales off 8% of your bonus health, which is why Guardian works amazing with this tank build. As if Heimerdinger's support wasn't already oppressive enough, the Koreans have started rushing Rocket Belt to enhance all-in kill threat. The Magic Pen and extra ability power is going to provide you with some added pop compared to the Rylai's Rush. Heimer is all about smashing lane and being able to snowball that as hard as possible, and there's really no better AP mythic than Rocket Belt to help you accomplish that. You still want to build Rylai's, and the 2-item core of Rocket Belt and Rylai's works great together. The active on Rocket Belt procs the slow from Rylai's, so it's incredibly useful for when you're trying to catch out an enemy. You use Rocket Belt active to slow the enemy so that your E and W are so much easier to land. Once you complete Zanya's, it all comes together perfectly, as you can Rocket Belt forward for the slow, find a pick with your E, and then pop Zanya's if the enemy team tries to engage onto you. Rune page is standard stuff for Heimer support, with Comet followed by Mana Flow, Absolute Focus, and Scorch. Best secondaries are Free Boots and Biscuits. Alright guys, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little more about SkillCapped. So, we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee, and think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's like a gym membership guaranteeing you'll get ripped. shipped. Your local gym would go bust if they offered that, right? Not us. We've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium league guides on the internet. We add over 20 videos a week with over 1,600 guides curated into over 100 courses no one can compare. We've also sent challenger players into ELO Hell 714 times and counting, where they commentate how to carry live. They also respond to all questions asked. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month if you are serious about improving. So there you have it, guys, 10 new Korean builds that are extremely strong for patch 12.23b. Thanks for watching, good luck with these setups in solo queue, and we will catch you in the next one.